and your productivity. It's so very essential that you understand the importance of having the right mindset. You know, when you approach anything in life, you have got to have the right mindset. So I was meeting with my group, and we were talking about this very same topic on mindset in terms of how it does impact your business and your life. And so I shared with them, that, the fact that you can have all the systems, you can have all the tactics, you can have all the strategies, everything you need in terms of, as it relates to your business. But if you don't have the right mindset, you will likely not be very successful. In fact, you're probably going to be, 90%, it'll be 90% failure, if not 100% failure. Mindset is just that important. Now, this is something that I didn't come to this realization until maybe about a year ago or so, when I was having a conversation with my coach, and I was really kind of in a bad place. And I'll share a little bit of that in just a second, but it's like I did not realize that mindset affects 90% of what you do. 90% of what happens in your life and in your business is a result of your mindset, right? And I'll share like three tips, three strategies that will help you to overcome some of those mindset hacks or some of those mindset challenges. And I am speaking from experience, right? And I'm speaking because until I had a mindset shift, I did not see any results or any of the results that I was looking to have in my mindset. Now, in my business. Now, sure, there were pockets, there were times when I did have a little bit of success. I had a little bit of, there was some things that, like some peaks, and then I would see like nothing. And so what I wanted was consistency in terms of, good results, the results that I desired. And so what I realized was that it was my mindset that was the problem. So when you look at it, and what I normally like to do is I like to give, before I even get into even some of the tips, I always like to give, definition around the context of the concept of what I'm going to be sharing. So if you think about mindset and the definition of what mindset is the established set of attitudes held by someone. Listen to that. The established set of attitudes held by someone. It doesn't say a set of attitudes held by someone. It says the established set of attitudes held by someone, right? Established meaning something that is meant to last for a long time. Right? That's very powerful when you think about the meaning behind mindset or the meaning of mindset, right? The long time established set of attitudes held by someone. That's very, very powerful. So if your mindset is jacked up, right, it doesn't matter what principles, what strategies, what systems, if your mindset is not intact, right, then it's just, you're not going, it would behoove you to set in motion whatever is necessary to ensure you have the right mindset for success, right? And that takes daily programming, right? And I can tell you, once I did have a shift in mindset, it totally changed the direction of my business. Totally changed. It was like a switch went off in my head, right? And I was like, wow, This thing really works, right? So and here's the deal is this. Your mindset creates your perception, right? And how you perceive things will determine the response and approach that you take toward anything, right? And one of the things that I shared, it was like, you know, if you see things as an obstacle versus an opportunity, that's a mindset problem, right? Because if you see everything as an obstacle, you're never going to have any results, right? And so, um, it's extremely important to have the right mindset. And I know a lot of people talk about mindset. I know this. I mean, I hear, I can't tell you how much I hear about mindsets, and I know you do too. But that's because it's extremely important. Without it, you can have everything else in place. You can have clients, and if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to keep the clients, right? So, it's like it's just that important, right? It's just that important. So, as I was about to share, I remember having this conversation with my coach, and this was probably about a year ago. And I was really in a bad place. I mean, really in a bad place, right? And so it was so bad that it was just full of negativity, right? I remember saying this to her. This entrepreneurial thing is just so hard. And as I was expressing that to her, I mean, I was literally about in tears. Now, she's the kind of person that just doesn't allow, that was not her mindset. So she was just like, I don't understand. And I kept saying, it's just so hard. I just can't seem to make this work anymore. Right? I just can't seem to make this work. Now, did you hear that language? Did you hear that language? Did you hear that statement? I'm going to say that one more time because this is where I was. I said to her, and I kept repeating it, this entrepreneurial thing is so hard. I just can't seem to work this thing anymore. I can't make this work anymore. Right? That statement is packed with negativity. It is packed with negative words like, this is so hard, right? I can't seem to make this thing work anymore. No more. I can't make this work anymore, right? And I realized, my friend, that the first thing in that moment, I realized that the first thing that had to change were the words that I was speaking to myself. You've heard the Chris, I think it's Chris Tucker. He says, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Right. The words that was coming out of my mouth were so negative. It had a direct impact on the results that I was going to achieve. It was full of self-doubt. There was so much lack in confidence. It had me in such a bad place because that's what I kept saying to myself, right? And I'm here to tell you that the moment I began tweaking that and changing what I said to myself, I stopped believing that of myself, right? Because I wasn't, that language, the brain doesn't know the difference. So if you speak language of negativity to it, the brain is going to respond that way, right? The brain is a very, very powerful thing. And so the moment I began changing the language that I was saying to myself, I stopped believing it. And my approach, right? Just like I just said a minute ago, right? About, your mindset creates your perception, and how you perceive things will determine your response and your approach and your action to it, right? And so when I started changing the language that I was saying to myself, my results changed, right? And it changed because my words were different, right? My actions were different. So my results were different. So the first point I want to make is that your language has to change because it will significantly impact your life, your business, your productivity, right? Your life, your business, and your productivity. So language is number one. The next thing I had to tweak was my listening. What was I listening to? Now, here's the thing. It wasn't that I was listening to like a lot of negative stuff, or things like that. I really, I can't say that I have always been the kind of person that would listen to hardcore bad stuff, But what I was listening to was not um, was not things that would help reprogram my thinking, right? So the way I was listening was not intentional, right? So it was not only was it what I was listening to, but it was the fact that my intentional listening habits were not consistent, right? It was haphazard, right? It was inconsistent, right? And so the only time I would listen to something that, what was uplifting and all that was when I needed a lift or motivation, right? I mean, that's when I listened to, like Christian music. I mean, I listened to it, but I listened to it even more when I felt like I needed a lift or motivation. That's not intentional listening. And I'm not saying that Christian music is the only thing that you need to listen to, right? So now I practice intentional listening, right? Intentional listening means that I am intentional about listening to things that's going to help reprogram my brain, right? I listen to podcasts. I listen to, Christian music, but in addition to that, I listen to podcasts. I listen to things that's going to help me be in the right mind space. Also, I listen to affirmations, right? I write down affirmations, right? I not only that, I listen to myself repeating those affirmations to myself so that I can reprogram my brain. So now I have intentional listening, right? Listening. So the first one is language. Number two is listening. So lastly, in addition to language, in addition to listening, I began letting go. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm going to share a story with you. I was in a choir, when I was like, 7, 8 years old, maybe. It might have been 6. It wasn't 6. I think it was actually like 7 or 8 years old. And I remember I was leading a song in a choir. And so during that song, I forgot the words. I mean, my brain went completely blank. I mean, there was like nothing there, nothing was coming out. So if you know anything about choir music, they're actually depending on you to lead them to go to the next, stanza, right? And so what happened was they kept repeating the same chorus over and over and over because they were waiting for me to lead them to the next phase in the song. And so as they continued to wait on me until I caught up with them, they kept repeating the same chorus line. Until finally I remembered, and what I don't remember is whether someone said something to, to kind of help me get to that place or not. I think that's probably what happened. But here's my point, and why am I mentioning that? I allowed that experience, that one experience where my brain went totally blank. I allowed that experience to affect me for years until I was an adult, like my mid to late 20s, right? I allowed that experience to haunt me. I mean, it literally haunted me to the point where I just would not sing. I didn't sing at all, right? Because I kept replaying that recording in my mind that I was going to forget the words, right? And so that recording in my mind caused me to have certain language, right? It goes back to language. And then not only that, I was listening to that recording. So that experience paralyzed me. I completely stopped singing until I realized that it was time to let it go. It was not helping me. And once I did, I began to lead worship. I even have, my husband and I actually even wrote a song together, right? And so as I begin to let that go, and that is my last point, letting go, then things begin to change, right? And it's like a cycle. So it's like, my language changed, right? My listening changed, right? And I began to let go. Again, it was a cycle, right? Now, do I hear that? Every now and then I hear it, yeah. But I don't listen to it. I don't allow it to affect me the way I did, right? Because my language has changed. What I'm listening to has changed. I'm intentional about it now, right? So it's like when you get to that point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired because your mindset hasn't changed, consider those three things. I mean, they're simple tweaks, they're simple mindset tweaks. But I promise you, if you would do some of those things and begin to practice this on a regular basis, you'll see some different results. You definitely will, right? And so, like I said, I didn't realize how important that was to my success. And so now I have a whole different outlook. I have a whole different business. I have a whole different type of way that I approach, right, my business. So I hope this is helpful to you, right? Practice and understand that language, listening, and letting go are some powerful tweaks and strategies. They're simple, yet they're very, very powerful, and they can really impact your life in a significant way. I mean, your life, your business, and your productivity. So hopefully this was helpful to you. And in terms of the things that you're desiring in your life, right? Hopefully this was impactful to you. And so if you feel free to reach out to me anytime you want more on this type of topic or more on productivity, business, things like that. I am Aldreama Harper, productivity coaching for success at aldreamaharper.com. At aldreamaharper.com. I couldn't even get the words out. But hopefully this was impactful for you and beneficial to you. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have an amazing day, and God bless.